Am I the asshole for getting someone fired? So this actually happened like a while ago. My son was like 6 months old. I was alone pulling into the Walmart parking lot and I had a big crack like in the middle of my windshield. So I park and a guy comes and parks on the other side. So we're like, my car is facing his car. And I could feel him like watching me get my son out of the car and I was really creeped out. So I like buckled up and just like sprinted into Walmart. When I came back, I didn't see the car. Put my groceries in the car, and now I am like head in the car getting my son buckled into his little car seat when I feel this tap on my back. I turn around and I'm like, hi? This dude's like, hey, couldn't help but notice the crack in your windshield. Oh. I work for this window specialty company. Hands me his card. So this dude had actually like saw me getting back into my car after being in Walmart and stopped his car to come see me. Part 2. Part 2, am I the asshole for getting someone fired? Recap, creepy dude in Walmart stops me while I'm getting in my car to talk to me. So he had actually parked in front of me, gone in, got all of his groceries and stuff, and then saw me getting back in my car and stopped his car to get out of his car to come talk to me. Apparently he worked for like a specialty window replacement company, I don't know, and then gave me his card. And the whole thing just made me feel so uncomfortable. Because, like, I'm getting my son in the car. So, like, my ass wasn't there. And I'm alone. And this is, like, a 55-year-old man stopping a 20-year-old in a parking lot. So I got in the car and I called my fiance, who works for a car company. I gave him the name on the card. And I was like, it really creeped me out. Like, I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do. And he was like, just call the place. So I ended up calling this window repair specialty place and told his boss everything that happened. And his boss was like, that is unacceptable. A few months later, I found out he actually got fired. So am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for freaking out at my son's daycare teacher? Disclaimer, this is my story time and I'm not afraid to say it. My son has a new daycare teacher and she's someone I knew growing up. She started about 2 or 3 months ago. And as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh shit, she better not be Eli's daycare teacher. But she is. We've had some issues in the past. One of which being, I picked him up one time and he was sitting on her lap. And he was wearing overalls that buttoned in between his legs. These buttons were opened. So sitting on her lap was his onesie. When I picked him up, the first thing I noticed is that his diaper was so full that his onesie was wet, which she would have felt because that onesie was resting on her leg. Didn't say anything at first. Calmly called the daycare and let them know. They said, okay, thanks. Last week, it was St. Patrick's Day. My son isn't allowed to eat sugar. It's a dietary restriction and it's in his file. And as a daycare teacher, I know that every teacher in the room is supposed to have read every kid's file. Sorry, guys, go to part 2. Part 2 of Am I the Asshole? Let's backtrack because St. Patrick's Day and my son isn't allowed to eat sugar. They're having a St. Patrick's Day party. No big deal. I always bring in something sugar-free that my son can eat that he can share with the whole class, which I did. When I pick him up, I ask the teacher how his day was, and she's like, great, we had cupcakes. And I was like, yeah, but not him, right? And she was like, of course he had a cupcake. Of course he had a cupcake. Actually, he had 2. What? What about the cookies that I sent in? Yeah, he ate one of those too. But he's not allowed to eat sugar. Oh, well, I didn't know that. And then she laughed and walked away. I was kind of pissed because what if he was allergic to sugar? He's not, but what if? She wouldn't know because she clearly didn't read his file. Flash forward to yesterday. I picked him up and once again, his diaper is so full that I can feel it on his pants. So I asked when was the last time he was changed. I'm not sure. It should be on the sheet. Sheet says 2:30. It's 5 o'clock. Third and final part of Am I the Asshole? I'm sorry this is so long. So the sheet says the last time he was changed was 2:30 and it's now 5 o'clock. And I was like, okay, well, we have plans. So do you mind if I just use your change table and I'll change him before I go? So I just lightly mentioned, you know, he's pretty wet, but it's 5 o'clock. She's off. She just left. So then this morning, I very calmly go in and say something, or as calmly as a parent could be in this situation. Okay, I kind of went off on her. You know, we've had multiple problems with her, with my son specifically, and I kind of mentioned that I don't know if it's her or that she shouldn't be doing this job or it's just because she knows me and she thinks I'm chill because we grew up together. But I was pissed. After the confrontation, I called the daycare and talked to the director. And I explained the situation and I just explained how I'm just not comfortable. I'm not okay with her being responsible for my child because she's not responsible for my child. I don't know if she's being removed from the class or not. The director said she would work it out. I told my friend at work, at a daycare, about it, and she said I was the asshole. Am I the asshole for getting my nose pierced? This is my story time. For context, I've wanted my septum pierced since I was 16. But my mom said living under her roof, I wasn't allowed. I went away to university, but my mom's opinion was still really important to me. So I just kind of kept putting it off. And then finally last week, I was like, you know what? This is something I really want. I'm just going to go do it. I made an appointment for Tuesday, which was yesterday. I told my fiance about it and I told him how excited I was about it. And he was like, please don't. He said that he absolutely hates the look of them. He thinks they look pretty trashy and he doesn't like them. And he asked me not to get it. We had a real discussion about it and ultimately it's my body. I'm going to do what I want. Flash forward to yesterday. All day he's kind of like in a cranky mood. I get it done. I come home and I make sure to tell him how much I love it. He hated it. And he was very vocal about that. And he went off on me. And it started a really big fight. Things were said. But am I the asshole for getting it done in the first place? Knowing he would hate it.
Am I wrong for going off my husband and his mom for taking/keeping my used pregnancy test? Ew, what the F? I, female 24, found out I was pregnant very recently. My husband, male 34, and his family are beyond happy and excited. From what I heard, my husband was married 2 times before but couldn't have kids for 10 years. This is obviously a huge deal for his family because his mom will be a first-time grandma with this baby. They threw a celebration dinner for us, and as his mom and I were talking about the baby, she told me about how she already started making memories and started having keepsakes for her grandbaby. I felt a bit confused and asked if my husband bought something for the baby and gave it to her. She said no, but he did bring her my used pregnancy test and gave it to her to store as a memory. Wait, this is weird. I need to get, hold on. She said no, but he did bring her my used pregnancy test and gave it to her to store as a memory of the news of her grandbaby's existence. I was floored. I looked at my husband like, did you really do that? And he nodded while smiling. Not gonna lie, I felt creeped out, disgusted, and very uncomfortable. After the initial shock, I just went off on both of them, calling what they did creepy and disgusting and highly violating. My husband argued that it was not a huge deal and he just grabbed the test once I got rid of it and put it in a plastic bag and gifted it to his mom as a keepsake. I told him it made me feel violated and creeped out because that test had my literal pee on it. His mom then said something about taking care of the smell, and I lashed out even more and demanded they get rid of it, but they kept arguing, calling me controlling. You know, shocker, another keepsake, you can get her an ultrasound test and give one to her, say, here, this is for you. You don't gotta keep her pee stick. Brother-in-law asked me to calm down, but I decided to just grab my stuff and go home. My husband started arguing about how this is all just an overreaction and said that I ruined his and his family's joy by how I behaved after finding out about the pregnancy test. He said for him and his mom, it's all about the baby, but I somehow made this whole thing about me and hurt their feelings in the process. But that was my literal pee on that test, and I just couldn't help but flip out even if it ruined their joy for the news. So did I overreact? The top comment says, I think I see why at 34 you're his third wife.
Am I the asshole for singing a song to my wife at our wedding and making her angry? I just got married last week and my wife and I are both in our 30s. I am Mexican and she is American, but we both grew up in the US and both of our families know both languages. My wife planned every bit of the wedding and was a very controlling and nervous bride, but alright, I get it, she was stressed. During the reception, I went to the band and asked them to play a song for me to sing to my new wife. It was Te Amare by Miguel Bosé, and it was the song from our first date in a really bad Mexican restaurant. It became a joke between us, so I thought it would be great. Am I the asshole for singing a song to my wife at our wedding and making her angry? It was the song from our first date in a really bad Mexican restaurant, so it became a long-standing joke between us. The guest really did love the song, and my mother-in-law even cried. She told me that it was really beautiful, but my wife seemed upset. I asked her what's wrong, and she said that I'm the asshole for taking the spotlight to enforce my ethnicity and not letting the band sing a song for us. I personally think this gesture is beautiful, and if my girlfriend did this at our wedding, I would quite literally pass out. Her reaction just seems really weird to me.
Am I the a-hole for insisting to invite someone to the wedding when my fiancé is against it? I'm 26 male, and my fiancé who I'm getting married to is also 26 female. I started dating my fiancé 4 years ago, and we got engaged last year. Before I met my fiancé, I was friends with this one girl since we were 16 years old. We weren't that close, but we were good friends. I went no contact with that girl after she had cursed out my fiancé multiple times, and when she was acting jealous over the fact that I had a relationship, and also going on dates with my partner. She was getting really exhausting, and I felt suffocated by her. So I cut her off, but this was almost 2.5-3 years ago. Now, this girl started dating my cousin 3 months ago. My cousin will be invited to the wedding, and although I'm not thrilled about it, that girl will be his +1. My fiancé is totally against it because that girl treated her horribly. And she doesn't want her at her wedding because she believes that kind of person will make the wedding about herself. She's not totally wrong. The girl is extremely weird and capable of pulling a stunt to get all eyes on her, whether it's negative or positive attention. I get why my fiance is worried, but I don't want to tell my cousin not to bring his +1, who's also his girlfriend. So am I in the wrong here?